Hey there guys, welcome to this video in which I'm going to be explaining binary subtraction. So let's get started. The table you're seeing on your screen right now is the one which we're going to be following. There's nothing new in this table regarding rules of subtraction, however, but we're going to be using some concepts from binary addition, which I have explained in my previous video, and if you haven't checked that out already, be sure to do that. The link of that video might be appearing on top of the screen right now and is given down in the description below as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, before solving an example problem, let's quickly go through this table. So, firstly, 0 minus 0 is going to be equal to 0. 0 minus 1, since 1 is bigger than 0, so for that we're going to have to borrow from the next number. Then 1 minus 0 is going to be equal to 1, and 1 minus 1 is going to be equal to 0. And now let's solve an example question in which we have 1, 0, 0, 1, 1 minus 0, 0, 1, 0, 1. Alright, so starting from the right hand side, first off, 1 minus 1 is going to be equal to 0. Next up, 1 minus 0 is equal to 1. Then we have 0 minus 1, which is not possible since 0 is less than 1, so we're gonna have to borrow 1 from the nearest number. Now the number next to it is also a 0, so we're gonna have to go to the one at the very end, top left, and then we're gonna cross it out. This 1 becomes a 0, and we're gonna borrow 1 from it. So the 1 firstly goes to the 0 next to it, and this becomes a 10 in normal situation, in normal mathematics I mean, but since we're working in binary, so in binary we know that 10 is equivalent to 1 plus 1 as well, as we learned in the last video in binary addition. So instead of writing it as a 10, I'm gonna write it as 1 plus 1. Now from both these ones, we're going to borrow a single 1 and carry it forward to the next 0. Now this is also going to be 1 plus 1 instead of 10. So out of these two ones, we're going to subtract a single 1, alright, and then we're going to be left with only a single 1, which we're going to write down. Alright, so next up we have the single 1 remaining, from which we have to subtract 0, so that's going to remain 1. We're going to write it down. At the very end, since this 1 has become a 0, so 0 minus 0, we're going to be left with the 0 at the very end. And we have our final answer right here, which is 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. So let's look at one other example, in which we have 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 minus 1, 1, 0, 1. Starting from the right, we have 0 minus 1. Again, we're going to have to borrow, and from the nearest number. So we have to cancel out this 1. This 1 becomes a 0, and the 0 becomes 1 plus 1, which is equivalent to 10. Alright, so out of these two 1s, we have to subtract a single 1, so we're going to be left with 1 at the end, which we're going to write. And next up we have 0 minus 0, so we're going to be left with 0. 1 minus 1, again 0. Again we have the situation in which we have to borrow, so we're going to go at the very end and cancel out that 1. That 1 becomes a 0. The 0 next to it becomes 1 plus 1, which is equivalent to 10, and we have to cross out 1 from it and borrow this 1 over to the next number, and this 0 becomes 1 plus 1 now, and we have to subtract a single 1. We're going to be left with 1, which we're going to write down. Alright, next up, since this 0 was 1 plus 1 and we had to take a single 1, we're left with a final 1 here, which we're going to write down, and at the very end we have the 0. So this is our final answer, 0, 1, 1, 001. Alright guys, so that was about it for this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.